Hey, welcome to Casting Point. We are glad that you are with us today. We're here again with Matthew Parker.
Hello.
And Joey behind the very cool controls that we have here. And then we have a special guest that is with us. Who did I say behind? Did I say Joey?
Yeah, you said
you did.
All right.
Yeah,
I want to make sure because he gave me
fine.
a look like.
No, he gave the camera a really weird look.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Hey.
What I
Well,
just
you
called?
try mixing audio and camera all at the same time while looking at
the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I get it.
I can only do so much.
Anyway, special guest.
It's all
So
about
we're very
Sarah.
excited to have Sara Martin with us today.
hey.
Sara Martin.
Oh, here we go.
Whoop, whoop.
Sara Martin, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
Come on, the whole wide
No,
world.
seriously.
You said one of. It's pretty broad.
It's a big list. Big bucket.
I don't
decent
know.
list.
It's a decent list, but I'm not sure how many people want to be on that list either. You know, I might put people on there that are like, "Hey, oh," but
Who's
you
that
seem
calling?
to be like okay with being on.
I'm okay
my
being
list.
on the list.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
I'm excited
Okay.
about that. I really am. So Sara Martin is with us today, and it's number one.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, you became part of the staff here
I did.
at the Point.
Enlisted.
Like almost 2 months to the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. Did you think it was longer or shorter?
I thought it was shorter.
Oh.
It's like time is like.
No, it's gone like super fast because we've been super busy.
Yeah, it's
Like
been
doing
crazy.
stuff.
Crazy. A lot
Doing
of
stuff.
changes.
That's a long while.
summertime, all the different
Yeah.
things that are going on. And so we want to welcome you here today to Casting
you.
Point. And we're going to talk a little bit about your life.
Oh, I know.
And leading up
Crazy.
that brought you to this point where you are actually, think about that, you are actually on staff with a church.
Something.
Did you ever think that would happen? Like, as a kid, that's not something that
No.
I personally thought, ooh,
As a kid, in the last 2 years, I actually have prayed about a job on ministry staff. So, I mean, I'm surprised about how I got to here and what I'm doing, but it's something I've wanted.
It wasn't totally out of left field.
Not totally out of left field, just not my particular wheelhouse.
What you thought.
Yeah, what I thought.
Agreed. You thought, because I think you're quite good at it.
Oh, thanks, man.
I think we all kind of have a little bit of a story behind that as well. That what we thought we were going to do or what God was going to draw us to, and then all of a sudden, left turn, and here we find ourselves now. And now you're working with everything from 5th and 6th graders clear up through
Seniors.
seniors. Yeah,
Dun, dun, dun.
doing an amazing job.
High schoolers,
Thank
not
you.
seniors as
Senior.
So you've got
Everyone from 5th grade to the seniors.
Not
Senior
geriatric
adult.
seniors.
right.
High school seniors.
Good
Woo,
call.
good
Sarah
thanks,
Martin
Matt.
heading up ThePoint Hospice.
So
No. Yeah.
Going on that
we're
mission trip to
excited to have you
euthanasia.
with us on staff and here today. And somebody else in your life that I'm very fond of. I'm fond of many people in your life, including your kids and your husband, but your mom,
Oh, Margie.
Miss Margie Trainer. Love
She's
her.
the best.
She is.
She's the best. She's a great mom.
Love
Great
her.
lady. Yeah,
Actually-
you like her so much because of Haiti, I think.
Well-
and she likes you equally because you saved her from going to Haitian prison.
Yes. Which was
Wait.
that's a
Yeah, you don't
story
know
maybe
this.
for
You don't
another
know
day.
Wait.
She should tell this story.
That's a great idea. She should tell this story.
The
Let's
terms
call
of
it.
limitation are probably not up on this, so I should probably not say it live on the air. But
No, probably not.
Probably not.
I don't. Yep, okay. Anyway,
so how did we meet? I think I know this story, but I know where I really got
met
close
me.
with you guys. Really met you guys was at this special occasion called a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first time we actually met was at a wedding. We were at a fireman's wedding, the first wedding my husband and I attended as a couple. We hadn't been together very long. And you officiated the wedding. And then you were seated at the same table as us.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
so-
I remember this now.
Yeah.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Weren't you
remember that.
there?
Yeah. Right next to you.
No, it was you
was your
guys
date.
and also John and Jen Levin were at the table too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So my husband and John were on the same fire department for a while.
Okay.
Brandon's still there. John went to do his police work full time. And yeah, I don't know. You guys, I just was attracted to you guys is probably the wrong word. It's not like, oh my God.
Well, of course you were.
But I was like, oh, I really like these people. This is cool. And then so as Brandon and my relationship matured and I moved back from Kenosha to Winthrop Harbor. I was attending Great Lakes at that point, and then moved here. I really like a church that's close to home.
Sure.
I only live like a mile away. So
Very convenient.
yeah, but it has to be the right place, right? So, I said to Brandon when we talked about like, okay, we're really doing this. And then I was like, hey, I want to ask that guy, Tim. I was like, that fire chaplain guy.
Fancy fire chaplain.
And that was it. I made him in charge of it. And he dragged his feet a little. I had planned like everything. And I'm like, hey, if you talk to the pastor, hey, you know that guy, the missing piece to what we need to get married? Yeah. And so the first time I think we sat down was at a Starbucks. Actually, it's the one on 75th Street and 39th Ave.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
I remember.
The details I remember. But yeah.
Well, that was a great wedding. That was a fun one. Right along the Lake Michigan.
It was gorgeous. And I think I took you back a little because I planned like every detail of the ceremony except what he was going to say.
And as a matter of fact, I thought maybe that was going to be happening. Well, here's what you want you to say. Don't say anything. Stay within the parameters. Here's your boundaries.
No jokes.
But
Serious.
I was like, you will say this prayer at the opening and you will do this. Like I had the whole thing scripted. I was very in control.
Wow.
I had a very specific vision of what I wanted my wedding day to look like because I was married before and it wasn't what I envisioned.
So you had expectations, they weren't met, and you're like, got it on the second one.
Right?
Something like that.
So now you're leaving me guessing. Did we meet your expectations?
Oh yeah. Well,
okay.
I'm here.
All right. Yeah.
Like
well,
if you didn't, I wouldn't have been like, let's go to church there.
I thought that was all because of my wife.
She scared the pants off me that day.
That's it.
Who doesn't she scare the pants off?
I was like,
of?
oh, hi.
Thank you, Joey.
She told my girl. So, as it being our second marriage, my daughters were my bridesmaids. Our son together was the groomsman. Mm-hmm. That was our bridal party, and we just had our immediate family in attendance. And so my girls are super emotional. Not that they don't like Brandon, but they're just really emotional that day, right? And they didn't want to go down the aisle. And like it was go time. The music was playing, and Mindy's like, "You don't have to go." And I was like, "What is she doing? Yes, they have to go." No. And she's like, "Girls, it's fine. You don't have to go. We'll sit right here." And they looked at the same like, "What? We're going." It's just she saved my wedding.
I don't know how
that
she
old
does
reversed psychology.
But that's not even reverse psychology, but it works like that.
Yeah.
Like she has the power to it's not reverse psychology, but you just do what you're supposed to do when she looks at you and you're like, oh crap, I need to fix that.
I mean, she was telling the photographer too, like, no, you're done taking pictures. We're getting this started. I was like, oh, I like her.
All right. Let's move.
Now you know my life. In a nutshell.
Because you know my wife.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. Well, so tell us a little bit about your, let's start off with your family. Tell us a little about your family. You've got a beautiful family, actually.
Oh, thanks. I have
amazing husband who's been like the rock star firefighter of the year, like
3 times.
3 times.
He's been
North Chicago.
4
times. Okay.
Twice in Winthrop Harbor. Once firefighter of the year in North Chicago, and the other officer of the year in North Chicago.
I'm pretty sure it's all the mustache, though.
Yeah, it won 100%.
2 of them were prior to the mustache, believe it or not.
No way.
Yeah.
I remember when I saw him, because I think the first time I actually met your husband was at the football party.
Yeah, the Super Bowl party.
Sure.
And I saw him, and I turned to my wife, and I said, how much you want to bet that guy's a firefighter? And she goes, no way. That's Sara Martin's husband. He is a firefighter. And I said, it's the mustache.
He looks like he grew that mustache, and he had been trying.
Yeah.
Like since we were together, every no shave November. And we're like, dude, no, that's bad. And then we were off in the summer, and like he doesn't shave when we're on vacation because he has to shave every day. And this mustache came in, and I was like, oh, it looks good.
Oh, that's no
good.
Oh,
handlebars like that.
Handlebars, and like.
Yeah. So anyway,
Woo! So there's Brandon. We've been married for 5 years, together for 7. Together we have Bane, who's 6, and previously I have 2 daughters, Emily, who's 15, and Shelby, who's 11, he has graciously accepted not just me but them. He's their guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You have some of the most amazing kids.
They are pretty sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. They're cool.
So you grew up in this area.
Yeah, so I grew up in Beach Park. Forever until I left and went to college. I went to the Methodist Church in Zion, right on 29th and Sheridan.
Right.
Why do you chuckle? Does that explain
No,
something
because
about me?
I know where that is too.
Yeah.
Because I lived in Beach Park for a long time, and then I lived in Zion for a really long time. So it's like, putting that together. I know where that is.
Yeah. So my grandparents started going to church there eons ago. And then my mom grew up in the church. She had us grow up in the church. I was confirmed, baptized, the whole night. I sang in the church choir with one of those choir robes.
Oh, did you sway? Were you swear, or were you guys?
No. We were stand stillers.
Okay.
Stand still.
I thought so.
Yeah, no swaying.
Yeah,
no swaying.
No, we don't move.
Not in that bed.
No.
Not in that
No.
Methodist church. No.
No, that and during that time we had Reverend Gesselberry who preached there, and he brought some fire to me, like, because he was dynamic and loud and he moved, and I was just like, man, this is cool. Like, this is what it's supposed to be like. Huh, interesting.
Nice.
Or what so yeah. So then after high school I went away to college in Evanston.
And where did you go to?
Oh, I went to culinary school at Kendall College in Evanston.
So that's a bonus. Not only is she on staff, she can cook.
Well, yeah, but what did you major in at culinary school? Because I know you can get different certifications.
So back in that time, you only had one degree in culinary at that school in particular. It has grown leaps and bounds since then. They had like program certificates you could get.
Yeah.
But I have a Associates of Applied Science and Culinary Arts is my
Very nice.
course. Yeah.
So it's very broad.
And now there's a cornucopia of degrees.
There
like that.
totally is.
Nicely done, Joey. Nicely done.
That was good.
Put it together.
I have made a cornucopia out of bread before.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Did you do it in culinary school?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
In coronary school?
Wow, Joey.
Did you say coronary school?
Culinary.
Okay. I
Colon.
thought you said
guys.
Colon.
Not culinary.
coronary school.
So
what
then
happens
I
after.
got my bachelor's, moving on, guys, in hospitality business management. So
Okay, yeah.
that's a general restaurant, hotel
Yeah.
business
absolutely.
management.
Yep.
Yeah. Hence why I thought my gift into ministry was hospitality.
Right.
Oh,
But when the people ran screaming from the front door, she found out it just wasn't the case.
Oh, so wrong. I'm a greeter extraordinaire.
I got a little badge with my name on it.
So did you go to this Methodist church like clear through your high school years and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
From birth to high school. So when I finished school, I shacked up with Emily's dad for a while. And we got pregnant prior to getting married. And then literally 2 weeks after we got married, I was 6 months pregnant with Emily. We moved back here. And I started going to the Methodist church again, and it wasn't the fit.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the fit. So I stopped going to church for a little while. I was on Facebook one Saturday night and saw an ad for Great Lakes, like how they used to like pop up on the side. And it said, church for people who hate church, or something like that. And I was like, what is that? So I went and checked it out, and they were like 3 weeks in. So they were still like 50 people a meeting at Nash School, and I attended there for a while. I was submerged, baptized at that point. Right. But fun story. Through all that, I still never had a relationship with Jesus. Like, I was doing all the things, believing, but no relationship.
So you heard all the stories, you
jumped through all the hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Yet really just hadn't made the decision
right.
to follow you. Now, did you know who Jesus was at that point?
Yeah.
You just hadn't really made a decision to
I
repent?
could not.
That's the big church word, to turn to Jesus?
Sorry, my earphones feel funny. No, I couldn't accept grace. That's what it was.
Now, why is that?
Could not. My past is complicated, as like everyone has complications, right? I'll just lay it all out for you. Ready? Okay.
Let's get the list.
All right. So, when I was in high school, I started dating a boy, and he was not liked by my family. It was just a no-go for them, but I was like, they're crazy. I'm in love with this guy. And I dated him for 6 years, hiddenly. So that carried a lot of shame, like hiding, lying. We secretly...
it just complicates and compounds, doesn't it?
Complicated everything. And like, my parents aren't stupid, right? Like they had some inclination of what was going on. There was points in that 6 years my mom knew about the relationship. There was points I was lying to her about it too. My stepdad was like, no. My real dad was like, I'm not talking to you. But in that relationship, it became very abusive. He was very abusive to me in all facets. So mentally, physically, sexually, just, yeah. And that brought me to a really low place. Yeah. Obviously, really low.
What time in your life? What age were you in this time? The 6 years?
Young baby. I was like, we started dating, I think, when I was 16 and stopped when I was 22.
22, yeah.
Yeah. And, I could tell you stories for days on that. But out of that, I still, I finished college and still became a somewhat successful person, I thought. And so right shortly after we stopped dating, I met my girl's dad.
If you don't mind me asking, what brought you to the end of the relationship?
He ended it.
Wow.
Yeah, which destroyed me.
Yeah, after 6 years of control.
6 years of control and, you're everything, you're all I want, you're the one. To, on the other hand, telling me, I would die lonely and alone. To then just one day was like, I don't want you anymore. And I was like...
Devastating. It's just, yeah.
I was devastated. So weird though. I wanted out. I didn't want the abuse and the things that were happening, but I couldn't imagine not being with him either.
Yeah. 6 years is a huge chunk and through most of your high developmental years as well.
Yeah.
So it does really become your world, your reality.
100%. 100%. So I met Kevin. I was working at a banquet hall down in Alsip, Illinois. The super cool place called the Chateau Boucher. I thought it was
Chateau Boucher.
I thought it was hot stuff. Like I was the banquet manager and staff manager of this place.
Of Chateau Boucher.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Oui.
You have to Google it. It's really pretty. Anyway. Someone that I worked with invited me to hang out. I met Kevin, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's 10 years older."
Oh, hey-oh.
Yeah,
nice.
Man, he's got his stuff together, and we were engaged 3 months after we met. And then I moved in with him. We called off the wedding because I was like, something don't feel right. Called off the wedding. A couple months later, found out I was pregnant. And then we got married, and 2 weeks after we got married, this is a whole 2-week thing. He told me it was a mistake.
A lot of parallels here.
Sorry, I spilled my water. I know, on the studio floor.
I put this carpet in myself.
I'll get the vacuum. So quickly, that relationship became very mentally abusive. It was really great leading up to, and it's like true narcissistic behavior. And you can go into all the details, love bombing and trauma bonding. And that happened. And I stayed married to him we had Emily, and then we had Shelby. Like a year to the date of Shelby being born, I left. I asked him to leave. But it was just a really, really unhealthy marriage for him and for me. I mean, I wasn't good for him because I wasn't, and he wasn't good for me. And that sucked. And so I found myself in a place where I felt worthless. Like, here was this guy in high school that I thought was amazing and loved me and treated me this way. And then I commit to a marriage and have children with this other man who just berated me with his words every day. And so,
so at this point, it's pretty broken. And your trust tank is just gone. It's just empty.
And I wanted love.
Yeah.
I wanted love so bad that that song always plays. Like, I was totally looking in love in all the wrong places. I started online dating. And like,
tell us how that went. No, really.
Reach it, sister. Reach it.
Well, Joey, my experience went south. And to be quite frank and open,
You got catfished, right? At one point?
I did.
That was an awesome story as well.
I did get catfished. I had been talking to this guy, and we met at the bar, and he flagged me down, and he was the complete opposite of what he said. His profile picture.
So much cooler online.
So, but this didn't happen with him, but I was sleeping around a lot. I shudder to even speak those words, but I really was. I was just looking for something to fill my void.
Yeah, well, that void, that tank was empty.
That tank was empty, and I got pregnant, and that was like Kevin and I separated in May. I found out I was pregnant in October, and I aborted the baby, and that just made everything worse. Like, I started drinking crazy heavily every day. I continued my sleeping around pattern. And I continued that pattern for like 2 years of just heavy drinking. I started smoking weed in that time too. Started seeing whoever was interested in me on Facebook. I'm Plenty of Fish. That was my go-to app.
Plenty of fish.
Okay, Cupid here.
Around.
Okay, that was Joey's go-to.
I tried OkCupid once, just wasn't my jam.
Oh my.
And
so really, just very destructive at this point. You know,
I was self-destructive,
Yeah.
and amazingly enough, I was holding down an amazing job. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I was holding down a job. I was working at CTCA, managing 2 hotels and 2 salons, and yeah, I don't know how.
Wow.
But I know how. The good grace of God.
He was still holding it all together at that point.
I mean, he was
behind the
trying to
scenes,
pick up all the strings for me. And at this time, I'm still going to Great Lakes every Sunday. And I don't know. I look back at that time and think, where was I? Mm-hmm. Because I was hearing and enjoying and loving worship and everything about it. And the day after I had the abortion, I was in church. So it was just, I don't know, I was trying, but the things weren't connecting. And then I met Brandon. Yeah. And
you're a hunky firefighter man.
I love him. We had actually known each other previously, but he had ended up getting separated, and we happened to be at the same place, same time. And my best friend was hitting me over the head about, why are you not going to try to hang out with that guy?
That's a really good friend right there. When you miss it, and they're like, hey,
oh no, she was totally all over it.
Redirect. Yeah.
And we both knew him previously, and she's like, hello, he's still here by himself. Go hang out with him. And I'm like, you don't want me. I was wrong.
I was wrong.
He wanted me. And honestly, even when I met you, I was not in a relationship with Jesus still at that point. It wasn't until I was laid off from my job at CTCA, and I was making $80,000, and just bam, gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Yeah. One day. No, I had no clue. And it was Brandon that said, that was a Wednesday. He's like, I think we need to go to church on Sunday. And I was like, I think we do too.
I've got an idea.
So had you stopped?
Yes. So we had stopped. When we moved from when I started dating Brandon, I stopped going because Sundays were really precious. Every other weekend, the girls were with their dad. And it wasn't so often that we had a Sunday or even a Saturday together because of his work schedule. So I stopped, and he wasn't feeling it at that time either. So we stopped for 3 years going to church and as a whole. So like God totally like inundated me with himself at that point. Like Brandon telling me we should go to church. Then a couple months later, I was at school dropping off my kids, and there was this lady. She's like, "You're a believer, right?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I am."
I've got the card.
Hello, look at me, right?
I have the Bible app on my phone. Are you kidding me? Of course I am.
So she's like, me and some other moms get together every Thursday morning right after we drop off the kids at school and pray for our kids in the schools. And I was like, oh, okay, I got nothing else to do.
Of course I'll be there.
I'll be there. And then from that, I started going to MOPS in Zion, and all of those things fed me so much.
I didn't know that there was a MOPS in Zion.
There is. Oh, I should hook around to Up, actually. It's a cool place. That's where I met my best friend, Kenzie. We met at MOPS. But yeah, just like kept pouring all these women into me. So these women from my community.
All different types of community, too.
All,
I mean, it wasn't
all
just
different.
one. Yeah.
No, and Liz Zikovich here, like,
Yeah.
I joined her growth group, and like she had poured into me, and she's part of that. And all these people pour until one day I was at brunch with some of these girls, and they're like, one of them in particular, her name is Amy. She said, "You have to accept grace." I was like, I don't even know what grace actually means. I really didn't. Like, I had to Google it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I hear the song, Amazing Grace is beautiful. I love that song. I didn't actually know what grace was. And which is crazy. It was well into my 30s. And I was like, oh, okay. I Googled it. I started like a Bible app study.
Yeah.
And,
A YouVersion Bible app study.
Yeah, totally. Actually.
Which YouVersion Bible app study do you remember?
It's probably still saved in there.
Let's say odds are I've read it. I've done
it's some like
I've done them.
some saved by grace one, but then and it just so I don't have like, you know, some people in their testimonies and stories have like a big kapow moment. I have a gradual birth of a moment.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's pretty common too, though, for many people. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we're at.
What did you learn? I mean, when you have a take on grace, going through everything that you've been through and experiencing the things that you've experienced and watching God, even in the midst of your turning your back on him and walking away and doing a bunch of craziness because your tank was empty and you were trying to fill it with a lot of things other than God, obviously.
Yeah.
Chasing, pursuing. Seems like God was along for the ride in many of that, steering, directing, protecting, I'm guessing.
Totally.
So going through all that, coming to a point where somebody questions, have you received his grace? What did you find out about God's grace? How do you describe that to somebody that is asking the same question? I don't know what grace is. How would you describe that to them?
So this was the part like I had to really like mind blowing, right? Like no matter where I've been, where I'm going, he cannot love me any more than he loves me at this place. That nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how I behave or how I don't, or how much I read the Bible, how much I don't read the Bible. If I had an abortion, if I was sleeping around all the time, if I was sloppy drunk in places, like it didn't matter. And I knew that was real because once I started to read and dive in and really get in the word about it, so much like released from my body. Like I don't know, I just felt so much lighter, happier, at peace. And so I'll tell people like, you don't think you can be forgiven? Let me tell you about myself. Right. Because woo, girl. And that's Yeah,
the spiritual transformation that God promises. Right?
Yeah.
God promises a spiritual transformation that takes place in our lives, that takes us from wherever you're at, the darkest places that you've ever been, or maybe you're still at, God meets you there.
Yep.
And he can take it away. And you talked about almost like this physical side of things. The spiritual element is God doing his work, but it plays into the physical aspect, like a release, like a relief.
Absolutely.
And,
Totally.
Right?
Totally. There was that point and people noticed my change, noticed the change in me about I was much more lighthearted and not angry all the time. Like, especially my kids, my girls be like, you aren't angry anymore. You're not yelling at us so much anymore. Like, what happened? And I'm like, Jesus, girl, Jesus happened. Right.
So one of the things that you and I have talked about before is even during those dark times, there was a sense of guilt.
Yeah.
About what, and you didn't even play some of the role in that. It was guilt that was laid upon you, or maybe some of the actions that took place, whether it was the abortion or the drinking and sleeping around. You carried a sense of guilt because there was a part of you that knew, but didn't care, which created guilt, which created shame and embarrassment and cover up and all these different things. And so what do you say to somebody today that may be listening, maybe watching, who's caught in that guilt, shame, embarrassment trap?
So many things. One, that they are loved beyond measure, not just by Jesus and God, but by people around them.
Yeah.
That they're important, that they matter no matter what their actions are. And to find people and surround themselves with those people that love them, not
like truly love them.
Truly love them. And, I could say the whole cheesy, like, get in the word. And I don't mean that it's cheesy. It's not. But if you don't know anything about it, that's a hard place to start. But just submersing yourself in a different culture, in a different community, mattered. And and I just, in my circumstance, I embraced it. I have to mention this because this was like, if any woman is listening that has had an abortion, I went on this retreat. I didn't want to go on this retreat. Okay. It's through a group called Rachel's Vineyard, and they also 2361 is the group in Kenosha that works with post-abortion men and women. And they had a retreat, and I went last November. I was connected through a ministry I was working with, and they set you up in this beautiful house in Lake Geneva on the lake. Everything's provided for you, and they pamper you. And that retreat gave me so much freedom from that. I got to, they do this beautiful thing called living scripture, and you get to be a part of the scripture in these activities that they do. And just loved on and pampered by these women. And I was able to take my baby and be able to actually call that my baby, and celebrate their existence, give them to God, have a ceremony over that. And that one piece, if you're suffering from that, as hard as it was, probably the hardest thing I've done in my life, gave so much closure, so much peace, so much comfort, to know that someday when I go to heaven, I'll meet that baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge.
Absolutely. Well, the God of peace. I think that's the one of the characteristics. There's many characteristics of God, right? We know his love, grace that you mentioned, his mercy, forgiveness.
Yeah.
We can talk about his provision, power, talk about many things, but I think one of the overwhelming things, as a matter of fact, Paul talks about it. One of the most overwhelming characteristics of who God is that peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? No matter where we've been, no matter what we're doing, God can still bring that peace. No matter the situation that we find ourselves in currently, he can bring the peace.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the greatest characteristics that God gives you when you submit and surrender yourself to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he may rob you of that peace. Let's just be honest with you. You went for 3 or 4 years there, robbed of that peace kind of on purpose, I think. God allows us to go through life and kind of, go through some of the discomfort, if you will.
Yeah.
Restlessness,
Yeah.
guilt, shame, all that stuff, because the overwhelming peace that he brings in that moment, it just floods over all those other.
I could not probably appreciate all that love and peace and forgiveness and freedom if I have not gone through all the crud.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's a whole different thing. Even Brandon and I talk about that in our previous marriages. Like, one of the reasons we feel like we have such a firm and solid marriage is because we know really crappy marriages. We know marriages that are abusive for both of us. We know that the marriage that God does not want.
Yeah.
So
You've got a pretty good example of what a bad marriage looks like.
Well, and what a good marriage looks like at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
God has allowed you to see all, and that's why I think what you bring to working with these kids is invaluable, because these kids that are coming, that many of them are facing some difficult things in life right now, currently, or they're getting ready to go into their 20s, and we all know that's an incredible ride.
Yeah.
Not everyone goes to a Christian college.
Yeah, not out.
Kendall College was a Methodist college.
Or gets
I just
kicked
want
out
to
of
say.
either.
Oh,
But-
wait.
Christian.
Hey-o.
I mean, that's what they. Anyway.
Let's not get too philosophical here.
Kendall College has moved on. It's under different names now. It's still an awesome college, but
So is
still
Harvard.
different.
So is Harvard.
That's a story for another day, but you realize that Harvard, who started out as a Christian college, now has an atheist that oversees all their chaplaincy. So anyway, that's a story for another
Wow.
day. That just came out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
But
So circling back,
is I believe that God has brought you through so many things, so many life experiences. He's brought you before so many kids that you're able to talk to and speak to and do life with. And the one thing that I see happening is that they trust you.
That's my goal. Thank you.
You've got, God has framed and shaped you into a person that I think people can look at and trust. And I think that is huge for these kids to be able to speak truth in their life, but they trust that they're loved on, and that they look to you as that person.
Have you read the things I've sent Rhonda and when she's creating my profile? Because it sounds like you just read it off.
I memorized it before I came.
I doubt she's even shared it with you.
No. But that's who you are.
But that's
who you are, and that's what
who
you
I want to be.
exemplify.
It is my goal to not be their parent, to not parent them, but to be a trusted, safe, reliable space that will speak truth and love, and like, not literally knock them around, but knock them around like, hey, what are we doing here? Because we've built relationship
you built that
on that
rapport with
trust
them.
that I can have a conversation, because I wish somebody would have been there for me, because my mom couldn't be that person because I wouldn't let her be that person.
Right.
It's not her fault.
No.
At all. I was not allowing that. But if I would have had somebody, and I was involved in youth group at that time too, which I had wonderful leaders and mentors, but if I could have had somebody that recognized something, I don't know where we'd be. I would not be in the same spot. So I'm okay with where I'm at, but that's just what I take from that time.
Yeah, but we all want that, whether it's our kids or for other
absolutely.
kids. We never want them to go through some of the same things that we went through, or if they can better their lives, or to not face God, face the peace, face the love, get the grace now instead of after being through,
Well, think about the start of your story was at 16, And that's the tail end of when you get to be with these kids, and it's having the perspective that you have is so healthy, and being able to tell warning signs and just make them aware that you love them, you care, and that you've been through.
Yeah, because if they don't, they're going to be in trauma therapy and have anxiety and depression and possibly an eating disorder. So, I mean,
it's rampant.
Just kidding. Not really.
Well, and something that I wanted to add too is that through all this COVID, through all this social separation, this is like new trials. Like this is something that no one has ever gotten to experience.
Yeah.
And added on to this whole relationship of love, now you have this degree of like social and like all that compiled together is, I mean, these kids are going to be facing a lot.
Yeah, even just thinking
more,
social anxieties too. Yeah,
100%. I've seen it in my own house with my kids. When we were in shutdown, what that did to them, and now that we've had times where we've had to quarantine because of either exposure or COVID, man, it's not easy. It's not easy. And it stinks. So yeah,
it ain't easy being teensy.
Well, it's not easy. I mean, the interesting thing is I think kids are fairly flexible. They really are, and moldable. Yet many of the kids' parents aren't.
Oh,
and so
me.
Their jobs have been on the line, and they're struggling to make the payments, and then that stress builds up, and so these kids are facing things from their parents that maybe we didn't necessarily face. So again, you talk about, would you have listened to your mom? Probably not. But then when your mom is stressing out over all kinds of life issues anyway, it just makes it even that much more of an estranged relationship.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of kids that are facing some of that at home too, which
totally.
Yeah. But again, we have the hope. And you're sharing it. And we're glad you're on staff here.
Oh, I love it. It's been great.
Yeah.
Hope it stays that way.
It's been mostly great. It's been mostly great, Sarah. Okay. It's been mostly great.
Stop! You act like you don't like this. Jeez.
I do love it.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for being in here today.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
What an amazing story of God working in your life.
It's a doozy. It's a doozy, folks.
Yeah.
It's a doozy. Citation needed. Warning.
Well, and just seeing that God was with you. I think that's one of the takeaways that I got today that I didn't kind of see in the middle of it is, as you were telling that story, you could see God in the middle of it.
Totally.
Even though you were distant, God was
He was walking right along.
Walking you right along with you in that time.
Yep. So. And then when it all fell out, he was like, oh, here's my time. Boom.
Right.
I mean, dive right in.
Well, we love you. We love your family.
Thanks.
We thank you for being part of this church and being on staff.
So crazy.
Such an amazing staff.
Getting a cool card.
Such an amazing staff that we have here. And we're gonna be walking through talking with some of our other staff members.
Yes, we will.
Hearing some of the future Casting Point podcast here. So
it's
gonna be fun.
Look forward to it.
To figure out who's in the hot seat next.
Who is in the hot seat next? Maybe we should roll dice. Isn't that what they do in the
casting lots?
Casting lots.
Yeah.
That's biblical.
It is.
Cast lots. Who gets in the hot seat next?
Is that how we support our gambling habits? We were just casting lots.
We're just casting lots, man.
You two go off on such different roads.
It's a vibe, bro. It's a vibe.
I cannot get in your vibe.
Most people can't.
Yeah. That's why they dread the hot seat.
Well, thank you for watching Casting Point, and we will see you again here in a